The objectives for today's session are to recognize situations that can lead to heat stress and other heat-related illnesses. You'll learn the differences as well as the symptoms of heat stress, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. You'll want to know how the body reacts, what steps should be taken to prevent heat stress and other heat-related illnesses. And finally, you'll learn what types of basic first aid can be helpful when dealing with fellow employees who experience heat-related illnesses. On average, 3,100 U.S. workers per year had a heat-related illness that caused them to miss work. Heat can build up in the worker's body and cause symptoms that range from headaches and dizziness to seizures, convulsions, and death. Factors leading to heat stress include high temperature and humidity, direct sun or heat, limited air movement, physical exertion, poor physical condition, some medicines, inadequate tolerance for hot workplaces, and insufficient water intake. Types of heat disorders include heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat cramps, and heat rashes. Hot weather causes more fatalities than any other weather-related source. According to the National Weather Service's 10-year average, there were 170 heat fatalities between 1998 and 2007. During the same period, the average number of fatalities caused by hurricanes was 117. Recognizing the differences between heat stroke and heat exhaustion are crucial. Heat stroke is a medical condition that is life-threatening. The person's cooling system, which is controlled by the brain, stops working, and the internal body temperature rises to the point where brain damage or damage to other internal organs may result. Internal temperature may reach 105 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Heat exhaustion often occurs when people work in a hot, humid place and body fluids are lost through sweating, causing the body to overheat. Temperature may be elevated but not above 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The illustration depicts a heat stroke victim with dry, hot skin on the left and heat exhaustion with moist, clammy skin on the right. Heat exhaustion comes from dehydration. The skin may be cool and moist. The victim's pulse rate will be fast and weak, and breathing will be fast and shallow. If heat exhaustion is untreated, it may progress to heat stroke, which is a medical emergency. Warning signs of heat exhaustion include heavy sweating, paleness, muscle cramps, tiredness, weakness, dizziness, headache, nausea or vomiting, fainting. Symptoms of heat stroke can sometimes mimic those of heart attack or other conditions. Sometimes a person experiences symptoms of heat exhaustion before progressing to heat stroke. Symptoms of heat stroke include fever, irritability, dry, hot, red skin, confusion, bizarre behavior, no longer sweating, fainting, rapid but shallow breathing, rapid but weak pulse, seizures. Over 20% of those who suffer a heat stroke die. The key difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke is the presence of mental status changes. When heat illness symptoms are presented, you'll need to respond quickly. First, move the person out of the sun or hot environment and into a shadier air-conditioned space. If fever greater than 102 degrees Fahrenheit, fainting, confusion, or seizures occur, dial 911 or call for emergency medical assistance. Cool the person by covering him or her with damp sheets or by spraying with cool water. Direct air onto the person with a fan or newspaper. Finally, have them drink cool water. If they're able, a half a cup of water every 15 minutes is a good start. If symptoms do not improve, seek medical help immediately. It is easier to prevent heat illness than to treat it once symptoms develop. If possible, acclimatize for up to a week when working in hot weather conditions. This allows your body to gradually adapt to the heat. Hydrate well before thirst kicks in. Once you are thirsty, you are already dehydrated. Drink every 15 minutes or 6 to 20 ounces an hour. Wear light, loose clothing such as cotton so sweat can evaporate. Better yet, invest in wicking or cooling garments like Cool Zone Tech or Miracool bandanas. Use sunscreen to prevent sunburn, which can hinder the skin's ability to cool itself. Wear a hat that provides shade and allows ventilation. If you feel your abilities start to diminish, stop activity and try to cool off. Do not drink alcohol or beverages with caffeine because they increase the rate of dehydration.
Preventing cold weather injuries is both a leadership as well as a personal responsibility. Cold exposure can cause multiple injuries. The key to working safely starts with an understanding of cold weather injuries and the ways to prevent them. Here are some of the most common cold weather injuries with tips on how to prevent them. Chilblains is a cold injury resulting from repeated, prolonged skin exposure to cold and wet temperatures above freezing. Exposed skin becomes red, tender, hot to the touch, and usually accompanied with itching. This can worsen to an aching, pins and needles sensation followed by numbness. Chilblains can develop in exposed skin in only a few hours. The most commonly affected areas are the ears, nose, fingers, and toes. Immersion foot, also called trench foot, is an injury caused by prolonged exposure to wet conditions between 32 and 60 degrees with damp socks and boots. Immersing feet in cold water, not changing socks frequently, poor hygiene, and allowing sweat to accumulate in boots or gloves will soften the skin, cause tissue loss, and can lead to infection. Blood vessels constrict and the affected areas become cold, swollen, and discolored. There can be sensations of pins and needles, numbness, and pain. In extreme cases, flesh dies and amputation may be necessary. Frostnip is when the top layers of skin tissue freeze. It is the first degree of frostbite. Frostnip usually results from short duration exposure to cold air or contact with cold objects like metal. Exposed skin, like cheeks, ears, fingers, and wrists, are more likely to develop frostnip. The top layer of frozen skin becomes white and feels hard and rubbery, but the deeper tissue is still soft. The affected area feels numb and may become swollen. Frozen skin thaws quickly, becoming red and painful with eventual peeling of the skin. Complete healing can take 10 days, but the injury is usually reversible. Frostbite occurs when skin tissue freezes through all skin layers. It can freeze the muscle and bone. Frozen skin turns red, then gray-blue with blisters, and in worst cases the skin dies and turns blue-black. At this stage, amputation is often required. Instantaneous frostbite can occur when the skin comes in contact with supercooled liquids like lubricants, fuels, antifreeze, and alcohol, all of which remain liquid to temperatures as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Hypothermia is a potentially life-threatening condition that is defined as the general cooling of the body core temperature below 95 degrees. Normal body temperature is 98.6. Hypothermia sets in when the body heat lost exceeds the body's heat production due to prolonged cold exposure. Although hypothermia is usually associated with cold climates, it can occur at temperatures well above freezing, especially when a person is exposed to extended wet conditions. Signs and symptoms of hypothermia change as the body temperature falls. Mental functions typically decline first, including an inability to make decisions, slurred speech, disorientation, incoherence, irrationality, and unconsciousness. Muscle functions deteriorate with shivering, loss of fine motor ability, such as being unable to control your hands, followed by stumbling, clumsiness, and falling. In severe cases, shivering ceases and the victim becomes stiff and unable to move. Pulse and respiration rates decrease, causing unconsciousness, irregular heartbeat, and death. Unfortunately, early signs and symptoms of hypothermia can be difficult to recognize and may easily go undetected. Dehydration is a lack of water in the body, and most people associate dehydration with hot weather conditions. However, it is very easy to become dehydrated in cold weather, and many individuals fail to drink enough liquid and underestimate fluid loss from sweating. For more, see our video on winter's hidden hazard. What risk factors contribute to cold injuries? These include temperature, wind, rain, immersion and altitude, workload, duration of cold and/or wet exposure. Individual risk factors include physical fitness, fatigue, general health, prior history of cold injury, medications, alcohol, nicotine, and poor nutrition. Anyone working in a cold environment must be properly prepared and should understand basic control measures to prevent cold weather injuries. Keep your body warm. Keep moving by exercising the big muscles of your arms and legs to keep warm. Avoid alcohol because it impairs your body's ability to shiver and it gives a false sense of warmth. Avoid tobacco products because they decrease blood circulation to the skin. Eat properly to maintain energy. Drink water or other fluids to prevent dehydration. Drinking warm liquids like tea and hot chocolate that contain sugar provides energy to help the body generate additional heat. Limit the amount of time outside on extremely cold days. Periodically move into a warm area. Wear proper clothing, several layers of loose clothing rather than one or two bulky layers. Air is trapped between these layers and acts as insulation against the cold. The layers can be removed if you become too hot to prevent sweating. Loose clothing allows the blood to circulate to the extremities. Ensure all clothing is in good condition, clean and dry, and change wet, damp clothes immediately. Protect your feet. Carry an extra pair of socks and change damp socks right away. Use foot powder to help absorb moisture. Wear water-resistant boots or overshoes to keep shoes and socks clean and dry. Protect your hands. Wear insulated gloves. Keep gloves clean and dry. Change damp gloves immediately. Avoid skin contact with snow, ice, or any liquids or bare metals that have been exposed to the cold. Protect your head, face, and ears. Wear a hat. As much as 70% or more of the body's heat is lost through an uncovered head. Exercise facial muscles often to help maintain circulation. Above all, protect each other. Watch for signs of frostbite and other cold weather injuries in your coworkers and immediately get help for anyone showing any sign or symptom of cold injury.